Hello, everyone. Fran Strickland here with Vero Lead Biz Solutions, and this is Tapped In with Vero Lead Biz Solutions, the place where owners, founders, CXOs, entrepreneurs, people who are interested in continuing to grow and evolve professionally in their businesses and personally come to have a forum where they can get new insights, learn new things, and basically have a place where they can expand their horizons. Today, I'm with the wonderful Mike McClellan. He is going to be opening up a door for us. Now, Mike is a world class certified speaking coach. And guess what? He is not someone who has just appeared on my platform. I've had firsthand experience working with Mike. He's gotten me ready for a very important presentation that I made a few weeks back, and he is absolutely fantastic. And so I had to have him on my platform because I wanted you, my audience, to have a chance to tap into this very talented coach. So, Mike, welcome to Verily Biz Solutions platform, Tapped In. Thank you for joining us. Please, why don't you just take a moment and say hello and then tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Thanks for that awesome introduction, Fran. I still want to see that presentation that we talked about. The people out there listening, Fran and I are both part of a community. It's actually a medical community of doctors who are also involved in personal injury lawsuits, and we kind of offer our expertise in our businesses. And I presented to the same group. I said, anytime doctors and lawyers are fighting it out, it's usually a good time for me. I'd rather sit back and let them duke it out. But it's a service that we provide because in this case, doctors are that middle ground between, on one side you've got frivolous lawsuits, and on the other side you've got here is reckless medical malpractice. So we help them be that responsible middle ground. But that's really a great backdrop to what we do in business, because you talk about evolve professionally. And so many people think of evolving professionally as evolving in terms of formality. Now, I'm a speaking coach, and so many people, and especially in the corporate world, are out there looking for speaking coaches so they can be more formal, more refined. In other words, more boring. And somehow people seem to think having no personality somehow makes you more respected. So part of what I do as a speaking coach is to shatter that fake hierarchy. This is that corporate leaders are the top of the food chain and somehow refined. We'll talk about the word sincere and what that word really means. We're bringing raw, real life, bare bones conversation into your business messaging. That's what I do with Fit Presenter. And that's what I do working with mostly solopreneurs, independent business people, that you're playing by the rules of business, but not playing by many rules at all.
Yeah. You see, this is why I have really, really enjoyed building and having this relationship with Mike because he is for real. And I don't even like to use that other word that is so popular because that's jargon, as they say. But
Gotta go make
he's
a
for
letter A.
real. That's right. Yeah, that's right. That letter A. We don't want to use that. We
It's
we
so
we
ironic. People use
yeah.
artificial intelligence to create their authenticity message. Make this sound more authentic. Whoa, 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 whoa. But we've got to, so I use bare bones, but another term we're going to use today, Fran, and you haven't heard this story, is soup.
Soup.
That's
Okay.
right.
Look, I promised that I wanted to make sure that Mike had a chance to tell us about this soup. I'm glad he brought it up because now we get a chance. Tell us about this soup.
Okay, you got it. Well, as we talked before we started going live here, I made my literary debut this week. It's a cookbook, and I'm a
Okay.
pretty lousy cook. However, I made a contribution to the cookbook. I always said if I ever opened up a restaurant, I would
Mhm.
call it Peruvian soup. I Peruvian soup. Even though I was born and raised on Long Island, born in Brooklyn, raised on Long Island, New York, I'm coming to you from Lima, Peru. this is a country where, according to Restaurant Magazine, if you're into fancy pants fine dining, this is a great country for that. The number one restaurant in the world, according to Restaurant Magazine, it's called Meido. It's a Japanese fusion restaurant here in Lima. Previously, there was another number one in the world called Restaurante Central, Central Restaurant. Incredible compilation of ingredients from all over the country, but still the staple of Peruvian cuisine is soup. It's called caldo gallina, caldo de gallina. All of a sudden, I forgot my Spanish. Oh no! Hey, it's 5 o'clock in the morning here in Peru. My wife is still sleeping, or else she'll be finger pointing, head back, mouth open, belly laugh if she heard me say caldo de gallina like that. The point being, Peruvian soup, because it's very simple, very real, raw, well, not raw, but real, authentic, genuine cuisine. No fancy pants, no edible flowers and rare Amazonian fish, but real, just something genuine, something heartfelt, something real.
Mm-hmm.
And where I got the idea for this restaurant called Peruvian Soup, has a nice rhythm to it. This is going back to an episode of The Cosby Show. Long time ago. Theo is in his dorm room. He's running low on cash and he's running out of grocery money. So Theo goes to crash some corporate mixer looking to hire college students. He's just there for the buffet spread. And the company executives and the recruiters come in. Welcome to the Taunton Company. We believe in growth. And for the slogan for the company is, we're not just soup anymore. They started off making soup, and then now this worldwide thing. They make everything from, I don't know, missile defense systems, and I don't know, whatever they did back then. So Theo is just chowing down on the buffet, and he couldn't care less if there's a job waiting for him or not. And he's like, oh, we love your slogan of we're not just soup anymore. And Theo's like, I think it's an insult to your customers to say that. And I even have it written down word for word here. If I don't put my broken down reading glasses here. But he says, and I quote, in these tough times, soup is exactly what people need. It's highly economical, it's highly nutritious, and it's highly filling. He said, I would change the slogan from we're not just soup anymore to we're still soup. In other words, we're real life, we're authentic, we're basic, but genuine people. That's the kind of people we are. I always had that in mind when I said, if I ever open a restaurant called Peruvian Soup, then just a few months ago, two things happened. Number one, a colleague of mine reached out to me saying, Mike, can you give us an excerpt about can you just give me some Peruvian recipes? Okay. But I said, I can do you one better. I can do a profile on a restaurant on the corner where I live. I'm godfather to the owner's nephew. The owner of the restaurant, she's like 37 now. I should be doing it. 36. She opened the restaurant in her mid-20s. And her backstory, she started when she was 13, washing potatoes and boiling rice, just to learn the food service industry. She was in it for 10 years before she had this opportunity to beg, borrow, and steal and open up her own place. And her name is Susana Fernandez, and the restaurant is Sufa. It's her initials. In fact, in my house, between my wife and me, Susana is a verb. Susaniamos means let's go to Sufa and have something to eat. So Louise said, yeah, we can do a write-up and put it in the book if you want. The book just came out this week, but the reason I mention that, it just so happens it's kind of sad, but the same week that Malcolm Jamal Warner died, he drowned in really sad on the beach in Costa Rica, was the same week that she called upon me to write this. So I summoned the spirit of Malcolm Jamal Warner in writing about Peruvian soup. And I even wrote, so that's in not only in life and in business, are you still soup? Are you still your bare bones, genuine self? Or are you some fancy pants corporation that says, well, we're not just soup anymore? Are you true to who you are? That's true in the meals that you prepare, and it's the truth in who you emulate and the type of person you are. That's got to come forward in your business message. It's got to come through in who you are. And people say, well, I believe in authenticity. In fact, here's my ChatGPT generated message on authenticity. And it's the complete opposite, it's the complete antithesis to what you're saying that it is. So be who you really are, and that should come across in your messaging and your stories. And I just put something out just this week: the two things that will tell our story years, decades, a century from now is the stories we tell and the food we serve.
Wow. So, Mike, listening to you, I mean, this whole thing, be ourselves, just be real. But you know what? It sounds like to me that there is a journey. I mean, you just gave us the soup story, okay,
Yes.
which is a journey in itself. And so, folks, I think you're probably hearing that storytelling is so key to getting the real you out there. But I detect like a reverence. This is just something, at least in my experience, um, that kind of respect for a way of thinking or approach to life is something that evolves over time, and it may be influenced by one's life experiences, but fundamentally this kind of a part of who you are. And in stressful situations, that comes out, that becomes the safe place for us. um, I'm a former psych major, so I was trying to use that years back. But today it's just about loving people. But Mike, tell me a little bit. How did this reference? I mean, this is a fire in your belly, and it comes out. What's supporting that?
It comes out in different steps. You
Okay.
talk about us coming out in stressful situations. In my case, it was a lack of stress. It was a lack of stimulation. After I got out of the Marines, you want to talk about real life, raw, bare bones, genuine, okay. Once I got out of the Marines, I expected I'm going to take over the world. And
Hmm.
you fast forward 9 months later, almost a year later, and I'm a college freshman. I'm bombing most of my classes, including public speaking. I got a C minus, and then I got didn't follow the APA format properly. Your college public speaking class is not to make you a better speaker; it's so you can give good presentations that are properly formatted and your sources are cited, not to make you an inspirational speaker. So I'm
Okay.
not doing too well in school. I'm doing entry level manual labor. I've been thrown out of two apartments in 2 months, just kind of drifting. Finally got my own place. No more roommates, just me and my apartment, and then life begins. I said, now's the time to do something epic, something important. Moved in on May 1st. On May 3rd, I went to my first Toastmasters meeting. That's when now some people say, "Oh, Toastmasters, I do that." Well, it's not just enough to say you do that. This is where the journey begins. I got people double my age, even triple my age, who want to hear what I have to say, and that's when I said, I'm willing to start at the bottom, which I've done many times over, which is probably the number one business skill that I have. Which, like, we talked about the medical community, doctors don't like that so much. Willingness to start at the bottom again and again and again. I'll do that academically. I'll do it professionally. I'll go back to living with, well, I don't want to live with roommates again. But the idea is because I have this Toastmasters gives me that trajectory to do amazing things in life while I'm setting this other foundation from the beginning. Then in Toastmasters and speaking and presenting will be part of it. I hit the ground running, but then I hit a real plateau because all I knew back then in my mid 20s was ranting and raving about my opinions.
Mm.
I hit kind of another plateau another number of years later because of that reason. But then I learned more about the art of storytelling. I took a great course with Craig Ballantyne. He was the world champion of public speaking back in 1999. I've been following Craig for almost as long as I've been in Toastmasters. Had a chance to link up with him once we had Zoom and all these different technological advances here from Peru. I can hang out with Craig in Columbia, Maryland, outside of Baltimore. I learned more about telling stories, and the whole world opened up. Those are the two parts as far as what speaking means to my life and being able to get out there. And then the difference that storytelling is, it's no longer about me and what I think and my opinions and me congratulating myself, but rather telling stories where you can be the main character of your story, but the audience has to be the main character of your speech.
Mm. Wow, that's profound. You know, Mike, as you were speaking, something came to mind. You said that you only knew how to rant and rave about your opinions, and
Yeah.
in working with many of my clients, a lot of times I'll say, it's not about you. And they say, well, wait a minute. I mean, because that's a big hang up because we like to talk about what we know, right? It's what we know, but in the reality, people they're on one side of the bridge, and I like that this scattered, shattered stuff that's kind of fragments of what we like to have, but it's not. And then it's the other side of the bridge where it's a nice meadow, it's things are working the way they dreamed of, and that's really what they want to do is get from one side of the bridge to the other side of the bridge, and the bridge, all that stuff that's happening on the bridge, which is what we know, that doesn't matter. So that is what came to mind as you were talking. So I'd like for you to take a moment and kind of help our audience think about how do they translate that gem you just gave us, that the audience has to be the center of your speech. How
Right.
does that show up in that fundamental element of storytelling?
All right. Well, I have to quote Craig Valentine again. I knew I'd plug him. I didn't want to just be a parrot of Craig, but he says, the message cannot come from you, it has to come through you. You are the agent. And let me say this about your messaging and what you have to share. Of course, it's something uniquely you that makes you, and that's saying that you're not relevant, you're not important, as long as you put the focus on other people. I say real leaders inspire the achievers. So you can put an element of yourself in there. You can soak up praise as long as it's secondary to what you offer that audience. If you're coming through with technical skills or some kind of, then you are the wise one. You're the smart one. If you figure out how to use AI, you know something I don't, you can show me how to use it, and okay, great. When it comes to life lessons, don't tell me, well, I have 40 years experience in this. I have, listen, the life lessons, the universal lessons have been around for thousands of years. You just happen to be the messenger at this particular time. So don't ever think that you're the one who came up with it on your own. It's your ability to interpret it and present it in a way that's understandable to other people. But the lessons come and go. I'm not the first person to say I was lost until I had an opportunity to share my message and people listened to me. I'm not the first person in human history to ever say that. Okay,
Mhm.
I'm not the first person in human history to say, well, you should be soup and not some fancy pants caviar dish in some kind of fashion, right? These messages have existed. It's only how you present them to people. That's what makes you unique, not the lessons, but how you present them.
Mhm.
As for putting the focus on the audience, any opportunity to take a cheap shot at TED Talks, I'm going to do it. Okay, a lot of people think of speaking as a TED Talk, but I'm going to tell something amazing about me. And there's a place for that too. If you've been through some kind of ordeal, been through some kind of abuse, and people can feel that, oh, if you've been through it, I can get through it too, that's fine. If you're promoting a business, the acronym that I use is AMY, and that is audience, material, yourself. First, you tap into them and their understanding of what you do. Not say, I know what you're thinking, nothing like that. But if, for me, in the example of public speaking, I'll talk, or storytelling, I'll tap into the audience and what their concept is of speaking. If it's something to do with the fitness world, I'll tap into their understanding of that first. I was talking yesterday to a bookkeeper. I said, here, and if you're a bookkeeper listening, you can have this as my gift to you. I never thought that the most stressful thing about owning a business is making money, right? If you're a bookkeeper, you're going to tap into the business owners say, oh my, you're so right. Tap into them first. It's your audience. Then the material, you give them something actionable, something they can use that's practical. And then when you've earned it, you get to tell your backstory. You get to talk about you. You can do it. Now, a lot of people think, oh, start with your story, start with your why. No. Start with the audience. And then once they recognize that you know what their troubles are, then you give them something they can do about it. And now your story is that makes that emotional connection. So when they meet with you one-on-one, the last thing to remember is the emotional connection you made. Now you get the best of both. You put the focus on them first, then you get to self-indulge, then you get to form a really close business relationship. It's the real you solving real problems with the expertise you bring.
Wow. Amy, okay. A is for audience. That is really connecting with them on an emotional basis, right?
Yeah.
Tuning into their pain or their experience. Then the next is something material, actionable, that's helpful, concrete. And
Yes.
then you get to tell your story. And you said something interesting. You said something about basically earning. You kind of earn it through the first two steps to do your backstory.
Yeah, let them pique their interest. Like, who is this person? Fran, who's this Fran? What is that mountain behind her? Okay. So obviously there's a story. You build up that mystique of who is this, and then kaboom, you let them have it.
Ah, wow. Okay. So now, Mike, now that's fixed in my mind. But of course, you've helped me with that before. But now I really got it fixed in my mind. And then I just had this mind picture. Someone is standing up there, and they say, okay, I got my Amy and everything, but something happens because speaking is kind of a matter of focus. Would you say, is that reasonable to say that public speaking requires a degree of focus and ongoing awareness during that conversation?
Awareness that okay, yes, understanding that the audience is in sync with you. That's why you've got to check in with them with one thing you cannot say is, does that make sense? Never,
Ah,
never, ever, ever ask that question. Because if you have to ask that question, they're going to say yes. The real answer is no.
yes.
Depending on the type of presentation. I'm also an English as a foreign language teacher. If you ask, does that make sense? Oh, yeah, because God forbid they say no. What don't you understand? I taught it to you. What's wrong with you? Well, no, that's not going to fly. There are techniques called concept check questions, but this is not a methodology lesson here. But you can check out my blog post on concept check questions. It's there. What I can say is there are ways to engage that audience. Don't look for that instant gratification because the person, and I've learned this the hard way, I'm very easily patronized. I don't mind. So that person in the audience saying, yeah, uh-huh, wow, uh-huh, you think that's the person who's like totally locked in with you? No, that person's crazy. Sometimes the person really is, but sometimes they're just trying to get attention on themselves, or you don't always know. So when I do this on Zoom, for example, I've got 20 boxes, I'm running my workshop. Sometimes I do gravitate to the person saying, yeah, oh wow. And then you see me on the Zoom video when it's recorded going like this because I'm looking in the upper left corner where that crazy person's going, wow, Mike, you're so smart. So if you're looking for that instant gratification, you're hurting yourself. Just have faith in what you do. If your focus is on your stories and following the right sequence, you'll get them, and you won't need that instant gratification all the time. I do need instant gratification when my camera is clear, so I'm gonna do the little. I got autofocus on my camera, so am I looking fuzzy right now?
No, you're looking good.
Okay,
I can see it's working. The
here's my
autofocus is
glasses.
working.
Okay,
Yeah,
there's my
yeah,
vision. Okay, we're good. Okay. Well, there's
yeah.
my story about focus. Make sure the audience is along for the ride, but you don't want to check in with it. Does that make sense? Or you know what I mean? Or do you understand that? Don't do it. And if you're confused, look up with me, get on my calendar. We'll practice some CCQs.
Wow. Okay, so I hate I always hate this part of my conversation with my guests because I'm recognizing that time is getting short. And and it's always everybody has so the people that come on have such breadth and experience, and I would just love to be able to get as much out as possible, but I know it's not possible in one sitting. So, guys, we'll probably have to have Mike come back. But I just want to recap. I mean, what's really resonated for me is just once again that reinforcement of the idea. It is about the audience. It's that connection emotionally that makes the huge difference. It's staying in tune with them and giving them the space to be their true selves. Don't set them up by asking these inappropriate questions that you're really not going to get a kind of a clear, honest answer about anyway, because, I mean, what's the point, right?
Exactly.
Um, and then I, that journey, that personal journey that you talked about, being able to start at the bottom and rebuild. Um, you know, that's a resilience. That's a resilience thing that can serve anyone at any place. It's so very rich. So before we wrap up, I'd like for you to share, what's something that you want this the listeners to take away from our conversation today.
Piggybacking what you just said, the greatest professional skill you can have in running a business is the modesty and the willingness to start at the bottom again and again and again. It's amazing to me how many people hang their hats on their credentials. And I joke about being a best-selling author. This book is approaching bestseller status. I made a contribution to a cookbook, right? But some people can say, I'm a best-selling author. I'm an international speaker. I'm a something certified. I've got so many inflated credentials. I would blow you away with them. Of course, they're all true, but 90% inflated. Don't hang your hat on your credentials ever.
Hmm.
There's a lot of things in life to be proud of, but the fact that I won the school spelling bee in 1988 is not going to serve my business. It's not going to serve you. Okay, the fact that I won a pie eating contest once, or the fact that that's not going to get you anywhere. Hanging your hat on your credentials is not going to get you anywhere. Your number one credential is your willingness to start at the bottom and your genuine concern for the people you serve. That is your number one credential. Lead with that always. If you want to throw your credentials into a presentation, there are places for it. You weave it into your stories. And of course, if you give a presentation where there's a Q&A at the end, that's when you drop the hammer. That's when you tell everybody about the time you won a a race at a local 5K. That's when you throw in this stuff after you've already built the rapport. But never hang your hat on your credentials. Always hang your hat on your genuine concern for the people you serve.
Wow. Wow. Let's just give that a tick and let that soak in.
Take a sip.
Mike, such a rich conversation, such a great journey you've had. And I mean, you have just shown us what it means to be real. And I can say to my audience, Mike's been like that from the very, very first experience I've had with him in our first meeting in another mastermind networking group. And he was just right there, and he was always himself. And personally, I know I have to get you that recording, and I will. I
Yeah.
will get you that recording.
It'll show
But
up on
I
the
know,
Facebook deal. And it's coming. It takes a little while to produce them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, but I can tell you that exactly what Mike has shared about Amy, it really works. And so I'm so appreciative that we've been able to be here and have him talk to us. Now, before we wrap, Mike, how can people tap in to your genius?
Well, thanks for that, Fran. I run a workshop. You're going to love this. I didn't even tell you this yet. I run a workshop once a month. Now, it's normally 7 o'clock Eastern time, which over in Switzerland, rumor has it, it's pretty late. I'm going to start a second one starting this month. I believe it's going to be the fourth Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, which is probably evening time there in your part of the world. So there's going to be, it's called Storytelling for Solopreneurs. What we do is every workshop, we have a different story that belongs in your story file. We do a breakout rooms, you get a little bit of instruction, then you go to breakout rooms to practice it. You practice it a second time, you get real life feedback from the other people in the group. Then we follow that up with a LinkedIn posting party so people can see your story. It's life changing for some people in their business because they're tired of the I help A accomplish B by doing C. I help heart centered, soul driven, purpose driven, soul aligned, nobody cares, right? But you put everything in a story. So each month, come to the workshop, you practice a story. I'd much rather pitch my high-end coaching package right now, Fran, but I'd rather start with its complimentary, and that's that workshop. We do it once a month. We built up a great following of real, genuine business owners, have a real purpose, and that purpose is carried in story form. I believe there are going to be plenty of links in there, probably one to the book that you can purchase on Amazon, The Dressing Table Travels the World. I've got the section on South and Central America. That's another way you can get my wares. Also, check me out at fitpresenter.com. I'm sure the link will be in the liner notes there. It's FIT dash, I don't know if it's a dash or a hyphen, but FITpresenter.com. That's my speech coaching website that has a lot of focus on the fitness industry, although there's plenty available there. And contact me directly. Contact me on LinkedIn. A lot of the things we talked about today, I have either a blog post or a MailChimp message that's saved, including the Theo Huxtable Peruvian soup story. Definitely my favorite one. Maybe I'll give you the link to that one too. But anything we talked about today that you want more details on, I probably have it in long form that I can share with you.
Fantastic, fantastic, and yes, when this is out there, you'll have in the comments sections all the ways that you can get in touch with Mike and can tap into his resources. And Mike, that workshop sounds very interesting. I'm kind of like salivating over here this morning. It is lunchtime, but I'm really excited about this workshop that you're offering because I know how much it's helped me, and I'm sure it will help others. So, folks, that's all for today for our conversation. Mike, again, thank you for joining us. You are the best. And of course, it is coming down towards the end of the year, and we'd like to wish everybody a great 2026. Thank you. Please take care, and we will see you soon.
Happy New Year.